Welcome to TechRound Live on this lovely Tuesday afternoon. TechRound brings you all the latest in tech and startup news from around the globe. We give a voice to startups and founders, sharing startup profiles, founder features, funding news, and a whole lot more. We also run monthly industry-based competitions that shine a spotlight on both emerging and established businesses. My name is Gina. I am editor at TechRound, and today for our first ever LinkedIn Live, we're talking about SaaS, but not just SaaS. Experts predict that regulated SaaS businesses are currently facing an impending AI perfect storm. If they're not properly prepared, they risk being particularly vulnerable to a plethora of very serious challenges. Joining me today is Alastair Cole, co-founder at Scail. Alastair, welcome to TechRound Live.
Gina, hi, good afternoon. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Awesome. So, Alastair, let's just start off. If you can introduce yourself, tell me a little bit about yourself and your professional background before Scail.
Sure, okay. Thanks, Gina. So I'm a computer scientist, an ex-software engineer with 2 decades experience working with senior leaders in regulated industries, in law, in financial services, in telecoms, helping them navigate complex transformation. So particularly where technology and commercial performance intersect.
All right, awesome. And you launched Scail on the 14th of April alongside your co-founders, who will give a little shout out. We've got Douglas Cole, Alistair Mackey, Tom Kagodi, Al Connolly, and Jackie Fessett. Can you talk us through the founding team and why you brought together this particular mix of expertise?
Sure. Well, we're a team of experts, as you've run out there, across engineering, governance, risk, technology, data, culture, brand, and creative. So we've got a full suite of skills across the entire group. And we deliberately built Scail as a multidisciplinary team because the biggest AI challenges are those that pervade the entire organization. And some of the challenges we're seeing with regulated SaaS businesses and others is that they're developing AI capability in pockets and not across the entire organization.
Right. And I guess further to that, what problem were you seeing in the market now that made you decide that now is the right time to launch Scail?
Well, it became clear to us over the last 12 months that AI wasn't just another wave of innovation, that it's fundamentally changing how value is created, how decisions are made, how businesses are operating. And Scail is a direct response to that. What makes Scail different is that we don't just build AI, we're stopping the common failure points that prevent AI from becoming safe, becoming adopted truly, being trusted, and being commercially impactful.
Okay, so maybe potentially pushing further beyond what a lot of other, what you're seeing, other offerings from competitors and in the industry.
Yes, I mean, everybody's been running pilots for 12 months now or more, and it's true that we're moving from experimentation into expectation now, right? The opportunities are huge, and quite a lot of businesses are seeing the benefits of rolling out AI across their businesses, but the pressure is intensifying for those that haven't rolled it out. They haven't got great adoption. They're not seeing value from their pilots. And there's some significant challenges that are making 2026 truly a perfect storm for regulated SaaS businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in AI, we've kind of moved beyond the point of AI being shiny and exciting. It's still exciting, but it's now actually, how do we implement things? How do we make things safe? How do we make them work? So I think maybe also on that note, how do you think the idea for Scail evolve from your previous work, or did it come up kind of in this AI storm and just the rise of AI?
So I think for the six of us, the six of us who've launched Scail as co-founders, the most interesting, the most challenging work we've done over the last 12 months was unquestionably in the AI area. And so finding this group and putting this group together, that was one of the things that we had in common. And we realized that it's a fundamental shift, not just in terms of the technology, and we've seen that over the last few crazy months of 2026, and I'm keen to chat a little bit more about the developments that have come up. But this is going to be a much bigger organizational change, and I think we'd all seen in our individual areas the potential for capability building in AI, but that it was still very siloed, and that's why we wanted to build a multidisciplinary team to try and solve these problems. And to go back to your question about why now for regulated SaaS, well, there's 3 or 4 major forces that are impacting regulated SaaS businesses. The first is that the traditional software model is wildly under threat from AI. Right, the SaaS apocalypse announcement in February of Anthropic's sympathy of technical means that software businesses are entirely rethinking where they are. The announcement of that technology wiped $300 billion off software tech stocks in software, cybersecurity, and across the board. Regulatory pressure is also rising very fast. Various industry regulators expected to publish their AI guidance by the end of this year, but crucially, on the 2nd of August, the EU AI Act comes fully into force. So that regulatory pressure is rising, right? And at the same time, as shadow AI usage is off the charts. 78% of AI users are bringing their own tools to work. And when you put that shadow AI usage against the regulatory challenges that are on the cards for this year, it's a very dangerous place to be for these businesses if they haven't got their AI use squirreled away. And then finally, the value that is being extracted from AI, and it's partly due to the fact that too many people are focused just on pilots and not on the integration and adoption of those pilots into their broader tech stack and their working practices. So more and more value is being demanded of AI champions, right? With less and less spend, rising model compute data costs mean that there's a broader cost expansion going on. And even if you ignore the geopolitical instability that's driving costs everywhere, more and more businesses are being expected to deliver higher quality value from their AI work. And that's where Scail comes in.
Right. So a lot of pressure, a lot to do. And that's where Scail comes in to kind of help deal with those challenges and solve those problems, right? So if you are talking to somebody who has never heard of Scail and doesn't know what Scail does, can you give us a brief synopsis?
Okay, well, it's quite simple. We build AI capability for regulated SaaS businesses. We do it with clarity and control and decades of experience working with regulated businesses and across the consultancy world. We deliver measurable improvements, right? Absolutely crystal clear that any kind of change needs to be measured. And those changes create like real human value immediately and lasting commercial impact. And we've got deep expertise across 3 delivery areas of our business. We've got great jobs in diagnosing where businesses are building AI capability, whether that's tech or culture, and then operationalizing those across the organizations that we work with. And one of the things that we found most powerful is through our 100-day transformation packages. And these are bundles of products and services that we offer. They're bespoke, powerful packages that catalyze real change and move businesses from where they are to where they want to be in 100 days. We have 4 100-day transformation packages that we use at the moment. So, we're not just theory, Gina. We're all AI practitioners from everything from production strength, engineering capability at big banks in the UK through workplace and adoption, cultural practices in order that people are skilled up using the tools in the right way, but also that we're helping businesses communicate their AI rollout, all the way through to risk and governance expertise that we have in spades, and ability to shape the narrative around how AI has been using businesses, how it should be adopted, how it's benefiting customers. And so that full range of skills is why we built Scail. We saw in the market that was missing, and we wanted to come in and help those regulated SaaS businesses try and weather this perfect storm that's the clouds of which are massing on the horizon.
Right. So the AI perfect storm is kind of the most ominous thing that we've got, on topic at the moment, right? Sounds quite daunting, and we've touched on it a bit, but let's get into that a little bit more. Can you tell us what exactly is driving that perfect storm? You've touched on the EU AI Act, and let's tell me more about that.
Well, so I think regulations is the first one, and it's not just the EU AI Act, but also some of the government regulations and the regulators' advice that's coming later this year. As data and technology grows, we're seeing regulation across all kinds of industries. Everything from marketing and advertising. California just passed a law to ensure that businesses that don't include an AI watermark on their content are going to be fined heavily. I think the EU AI Act, which comes into force, full force on 2nd of August, which is just 96 days away, Gina. I think the potential fines for that are absolutely enormous. I think it's something like $35 million or maybe 7% of global turnover can be levied on businesses that are full foul of that legislation. So the regulations are a big deal. Shadow AI, as I mentioned, is a huge deal. 78% of people are bringing their own AI agents to work, but also they're very hard to govern. A lot of the major platforms, including N8N and Breeze and Watson X, they don't have any documented stop options for those agents. So these agents are often running amok. At an AI healthcare event last week, I heard a story that a Google engineer had let one of its agents run away and consume an entire quarter's worth of that team's tokens overnight. So that kind of ungovernable agents is a big part of shadow AI. The third area is that old software model is broken. AI is rewriting not just regulated SaaS, but all software business models. Throughout 2025, Spotify shipped 50 plus features that were all AI assisted development. And we're seeing the roles of junior and senior developers change enormously. The power of those engineering teams now is unprecedented. The fourth area is human skills, the structural skills gap that exists. I think 78% of executives driving AI use, they're non-technical. And at the same time, there's a growing trust deficit. We all question the output that we get from our large language models, and that's no surprise because hallucinations are everywhere. Unreliability is the number one concern users have about using AI. I think 27% rate unreliability is the biggest drawback. So that structural skills gap is a big one. And then the last one is something I've touched on already, which is that of value, right? And costs rising quicker than ever. And the truth is that businesses that are only focused on pilots and not building them out properly and operationalizing them, they are seeing that adoption is stalling before ROI is delivered. I think 88% of companies regularly using AI are only seeing measurable gains or gains that are plateaued because they're not able to follow through, because anybody can build AI tech today, right? That's easy. It's the communication of how that works. It's the adoption of that from a skills point of view and the integration of that into the workforce that is missing. And so companies are being pushed, right? AI champions are being pushed to deliver more value from less spend. And when you put those five things together, right, with the SaaS apocalypse that happened in February, the EU AI Act, and then, let's just talk about Mythos in the last month. The month of April has been dominated by Anthropic's Mythos, and that's added to the crazy start to the year. You put all of those things together, regulated SaaS businesses, some of them are facing, a potential existential threat right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's obviously important, on the one hand, we have this existential threat that is stressful and it's looming, but then there's also risk involved there, right? There's a lot of pressure to adopt AI quickly. But I mean, do you think that there are companies that are being pressured to adopt AI too quickly when they're not ready?
I've absolutely no doubt of that, right? I think, you look at the classic kind of adoption curves, right? You've got your early innovators taking it on early. You've got laggards at the back. I think, a lot of businesses have been playing with this for a long time. Those that haven't, and those that feel they're a bit behind the drag curve, naturally, they're under pressure. They would have been under pressure if it was a normal technology shift, but this is a different beast, right? This is an entirely different beast, partly because of the recursive nature of it. Working with agents to improve your prompts with other agents to deliver software code is a kind of multiplier effect. And so those that are only starting now, they're under extreme pressure to accelerate. And I think February's SaaSpocalypse was a massive moment. Businesses we're talking to are under extreme pressure to accelerate what their adoption at the moment, and that's happening across all kinds of business. But particularly for regulated SaaS, they've got super high trust requirements, strict compliance obligations. They've got complex workflows, and AI is weakening their seat-based pricing. We're seeing a massive shift in pricing at the moment towards tokens. GitHub announced it just last week, and this move to tokens is making standard business features easier to copy. It's shifting buyer expectations from access to software towards measurable outcomes, and making people focus on the safe automation and provable trust in these systems. And so, businesses are under pressure, and I guess there's even more of a likelihood that they will launch pilots and embark on programs without checking a couple of key things. What is the readiness of their business to generate value from the pilots and the rollout of the AI they're building, but also to understand their risk, their current risk exposure when it comes to AI, as well as value. And there's this light and dark that's going on, right? Everybody sees the light side, which is the real power, the potential of using AI. At the same time, you've got that dark side, right? You've got compliance growing, risks with shadow AI are getting out of control, and if you're not on top of it, then you could be creating enormous technical debt and digging yourself a really big hole. So you're right. A lot of businesses under pressure to accelerate their AI use, and really what they need to do is kind of take stock before they scale things. And that's where one of our products, the AI Risk Value Scorecard, comes in to ensure that they've got their ducks in a row before they take any further steps forward.
Right, absolutely. So I think you've summed it up quite well there in terms of the fact that it's a balance between not wanting to move too fast, but needing to move fast enough. Very difficult balance to strike. And I think, let's talk about the AI Risk and Value Scorecard, because that is offered as kind of a solution, right, to this issue to evaluate AI readiness. Yeah,
I mean, AI readiness is essential. Everybody knows they need to get moving. Everybody wants to see that value. The truth is that it's very easy to get into hot water, right? The AI Risk and Value Scorecard is a product of ours that we've built over the last 90 days. It's a structured way to continuously measure where AI increases risk and where it has the ability to create value. It helps businesses understand what to stop, what needs to be fixed, and also what to scale. And we analyze the AI capability of SaaS, regulated SaaS business across 8 core areas with about 120 metrics. And the result is a complete snapshot view of how AI is both performing across your business, but the risks that are there and the capability to extract greater value.
Okay, cool. And I mean, have you noticed any common patterns that have come up with where companies are strongest or weakest in looking at the scorecard?
Yeah, so the businesses that we've assessed tend to be pretty strong in data and technology, right? They've got strong engineering teams. They're able to build things quickly, and so they tend to score pretty well there. Areas that they don't score well in are things like kind of commercial alignment and the value design, right? I think only 50% of businesses are actually doing any kind of setting any measurement or metrics for their pilots. So commercial alignment, value design is one of the 8 areas that we're seeing businesses not score particularly well in. Strategy and prioritization, they're pretty good at strategy. These are often ambitious businesses who know where they want to go, and they're strategically quite strong. But the prioritization of use cases and which pilots to launch, which to kill, which to improve is missing. And then governance and risk is another area where businesses could be doing better.
All right, and that's already great advice for companies who are maybe dealing with these issues. But let's say for companies who have completed the scorecard, what happens after that? Where do they go from there?
Well, the scorecard contains, or the report that we put together, the scorecard contains three key deliverables. One is a deep dive into each of those 8 core areas and a scoring of those sub-elements. We also produce personalized, bespoke recommendations for each of the 8 areas and critical next steps for the business that should be taken in the next 30 days in order to get them back on track. And then we also create a risk and value roadmap. So what the next 100 days looks like through one of our 100-day transformation packages. And so we actually provide practical next steps across 8 areas of business in order to accelerate value and mitigate risks. So we're not just theorists; we're all AI practitioners. The 6 of us and new people that join the business will be also. And so as builders, we are uniquely positioned to be able to make strategic recommendations, but also deliver the practical tips of how change needs to happen across adoption, cultural capability, tech and data, and communications, brand and creative as well.
Yeah, and that's really important. I think identifying issues and pointing them out is one thing, but actually giving practical solutions and a roadmap with how to deal with it is something entirely different and incredibly valuable going forward. Yeah. Would you say that
sorry, go on.
No, continue.
I was going to say we're very hands-on as well, and so the 100-day transformation package that we put together, those are delivered through short sprints, 2-week sprints, effectively across a 14-week period. And our sessions, whether they are on risk or governance or capability or adoption or tech and data, they're all very hands-on. So we run a lot of live sessions with our clients where they get to see us experimenting, playing with, and they get to see behind the scenes of the AI tools and platforms that we've built. So we're a very hands-on organization. We like to show clients live what we're thinking and how they can make those changes. It's not just kind of report-based consultancy. So in the same way that AI is a light and dark, we're both theorists and strategists, but also hands-on builders and practitioners.
For sure. And so what would you say for Scail? What does your success look like going forward in the next 12 months? Where would you like to see the company?
Well, success for us is helping regulated SaaS businesses, right, to get greater control, build their confidence, not just in tech and data where it's strong, but across the board, rolling out the organization. We want to help them take the ambition that they have, which is definitely currently unfulfilled, and move that into, actual advantage, actual measurable improvement in their business. And we're able to do that within 100 days to demonstrate measurable improvement and real human change, or real human value, that delivers lasting commercial impact. So that's what we want to do. We want to help those businesses move from fragmented experiments to coordinated capability, and from unproven initiatives to measurable and crucially defensible, right, commercial outcomes. Because the ability for small startups or individuals at home in their bedrooms to create incredibly powerful software, that is a reality now. And so these businesses both need to rethink how their product roadmap, they need to build their moats around their product higher, and they need to come to grips with the rapidly changing regulatory and technology landscapes that are out there. And they've got to do all that while they're doing their day job as well, Gina, running their business, sorting out the commercial aspects, on tokens and how billing's going to happen, but also how their workforces work, how their engineering teams work. And they've got so much to deal with there. Having a trusted, AI navigator like Scail to oversee how AI is rolling out across their entire business, we think that's something that they need from an entity like Scail. And so our what successful looks like is helping those businesses to stop waking up. The leaders of those businesses stop waking up in the middle of the night, sweating about what could be and what in a positive way, but also mitigate the risks of what could go wrong.
Right. So let Scail jump in and take over some of that stress and deal with some solutions, right? And okay, so if we, yep.
I was going to say yes. Having a safe pair of hands to help your business navigate its way through this insanely changing landscape. If you look at February, March, April just of this year, it's been wild, the number of changes. And so having an expert on hand with our finger on the pulse of all these different aspects of AI, from governance and risk to data, technology, integration, communications, and adoption, all the way across the life cycle, the AI life cycle for businesses. We hope that that's something we'll be able to bring to bear for them.
And if we have SaaS companies listening, founders, what is the next step for them?
Well, the next step for them would be to reach out to Scail, obviously, right? But in terms of SaaS and the SaaS apocalypse that happened in February, and also the SaaS explosion, as my brother would say, that is coming, right? As every man, woman, and their dog is going to be able to create new platforms, whether they'll be production strength, whether they'll be adopted or not, that's a separate matter. But while we're very early on in the kind of capability of this new SaaS power, the consequences are already massive. The expectations, the scrutiny, the competitive pressure that's coming onto regulated SaaS businesses is high. So we hope that they're able to move fast and transform internally in the face of these challenges. And if they've got any doubts about that, then they should reach out to us at scalewithai.com.
All right. And I guess next step there would be try out the AI risk and value scorecard. And next steps from there would be to work with Scail.
Yeah, absolutely. Trying the risk and value scorecard. Yeah, there it is. scalewithay.com/scorecard is where businesses can go and get more information about that, and reach out to us and find out how we can help measure their risk profile right now, and also the value that they ought to be extracting from rolling out this powerful new technology.
Right, and creating a roadmap for the AI future, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That roadmap is absolutely key.
Right. So we have a few questions. If you are ready, I'm just going to go ahead and shoot. So firstly, what are the burning platforms or worry beads that you are seeing for tech firms?
Okay, well, the kind of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. I've touched on them a lot. The first one is risk, right? Not only have we got these deadlines looming, people are asking, do they have control over their AI use? The businesses we talk to, a lot of them don't even know how far the shadow AI use extends. Are they exposed from a regulatory standpoint, right? Compliance, regulation, these are, essential areas for software businesses. So one of the big concerns is risk. Another is value. Are they creating value, or is it just activity that's going on inside the business? At a AI event last week, we had experts from Capgemini, AstraZeneca, and others. And when I asked the question in the panel session, even those businesses, they're not assessing their capability to extract value from their AI programs before they start. They're just starting, right? And so being able to work out what value should be extracted from this is massive. There's no point just having AI activity, right? That's not going to win. That's not going to win any. Not going to keep businesses alive anymore. It's got to be about delivering measurable improvements. The other worries, I think there's a big human worry. I feel like we're getting over people being worried that AI is just simply going to take their jobs, because more and more components of the working life are being powered by AI. It's humans augmented by AI now, and that's going to pervade. So I think that's a question we've got over. It's now really about the trust, right? Trust in the output, trust that these systems are actually telling the truth. So that's a big concern, and also trust in the process to a certain degree, because adoption is really important. Training, learning, culture, these are essentials. And some businesses we talk to, their staff are, they're seeing AI fatigue in terms of, it's another training course, right? And so how that's couched, how those sessions are delivered, whether they're just one way, tutorials, or whether they're interactive hands-on sessions, like I talked about earlier, that's huge. And then the product, the obsolescence or potential obsolescence of SaaS products is going to be huge. Is it defensible? Existing products, how do they need to be transformed in order that they're going to be around in 12 months? How does development teams change? How does the way that they go about building new features and rewiring their platforms? These are all product concerns that are live right now, and these are all board issues, Gina, right? These are not just technical issues. These are human issues. These are board level issues. So that's what we're hearing is keeping businesses awake at night.
Right, and fair enough. Those are some pretty poignant questions and things to consider. Okay, next question. You've spoken about the SaaS apocalypse, which is a great term, by the way. Do you think, is the SaaS apocalypse a real thing, or is the threat overblown, overhyped?
$300 billion wiped off, tech and cybersecurity stacks, I would say is a real deal, right? It's a big deal. And the truth is that with the arrival of these new programming tools, and they are phenomenal, in the hands of our engineers, we were able on Friday last week in 3 hours to build production strength AI powered customer tools that sit on the AWS stack, that have full secure login, that the power that we've got now, and so the power that these businesses have is enormous, and the power that everybody in their garage has. So like features are easier to copy, which means pricing is under extreme pressure. We've seen a precipitous decline in the number of people choosing to read computer science, right? Which has followed on from these new development tools. And what that suggests is that the democratization of the ability to create technical products, to create SaaS platforms, that's pervasive now, and so it's completely changed the game. Junior developers they're having to learn the ropes of software engineering in their roles in double quick time, while at the same time learning how to use the very latest AI models and techniques, because they can't just start on AI. They have to have those software engineering fundamentals, otherwise they won't be able to check the work that comes out of AI. They won't be able to stitch together properly the AI platforms and tools that are built. And then for senior developers, right, in the SaaS world, they're being driven to maximize their token usage, right? They're developing new skills in terms of orchestration of agent teams and the interoperability of systems and data. So that SaaS world, right, that's as a result of the SaaS apocalypse, that is just, it's exploded, and it's changing, it's transforming at insane pace. But it's not the end for software by any stretch of imagination. It's just another reset, right? And my gut feeling is that actually computer science as a discipline will just evolve fast, right? As it's done repeatedly in the past, as it did with the arrival of cloud computing from a kind of Scail point of view, as it did with machine learning from a deep learning point of view, and as it's done with cybersecurity and trust. So software engineering, computer science will morph again, as it's done so many times in the past. And the winners in the SaaS world will be those that focus their AI efforts on measurable outcomes, on workflows that unite their teams, on building things that create trust both internally and externally with customers, and those that develop domain expertise depth in this new emerging software field.
Right. So not quite the very end of the world and the end of SaaS, but
no,
big changes. And
big changes, lots of work to do, lots of thinking to be done, lots of experimentation to be had, all weighed up against the potential risk of some of this technology. And Mythos has shown us that the risks are enormous. So and when you put all this together, that's what some people think that perfect storm is a little bit strong, but actually when you put all that together, there's an existential threat for a lot of SaaS businesses.
Yeah. And okay, I want to shift a little bit to, we've got a couple of questions that maybe look kind of at some of the social side of this. And firstly, what is the culture gap currently in organization when it comes to AI adoption?
Right. Well, that's a great question, and as the tools become easier to use and everybody can use them, and that's democratized, the problem shifts not to whether you can build something quickly, but can you build something good? But crucially, how is that adopted? How do people perceive that? How is it communicated right from the start? And we're seeing a repetition of the kind of IT-led projects in the past, where often IT would just crack on with new systems and not bring other teams and other departments in until right at the last minute, by which time it's kind of designed and it's a fait accompli. And obviously that doesn't go down very well, right? Nobody wants to be invited to the party at the last minute. And so it's even more important, given the pace of change now, that the right teams, the right people across an organization are brought in at the start, not necessarily to make decisions, but to contribute, to be aware of what's happening. So the communication of these new initiatives is critical. And without that, you're not going to get the kind of cultural adoption, right, that is needed in order for these not just to be pilots, but to be proper builds that can be operationalized and that return on investment will be seen. Because it takes many months for these to take hold across the entire organization. You can measure adoption early on and with your core group, but these things do take time to roll out. And so there is a culture gap in terms of adoption. We're still relatively early on when it comes to kind of adoption of these large scale systems. We don't have a huge amount of experience. Nobody does, because it's relatively new. But what we're seeing is inconsistent usage, low trust, shadow AI use anyway. And the truth is that capability is not built through tools; it is built through people.
Absolutely, and people are such an important part of adoption and making these things work in the long term, and you can't do it without them. I think opening the conversation and making sure that everybody is part of the conversation and participating is absolutely crucial, and it's not something that can be forgotten. So, final question, sort of pushing on a little bit from that, is how do we ensure that everyone benefits from AI and that it doesn't widen already existing inequality gaps?
Sure. Well, you touched on it there. You're talking about getting the right people around the table at the start, and Tim Berners-Lee, founder of the World Wide Web, he said 99% of the world's problems are communication problems, and he's right. That early communication about what's happening, what we're going to do, digging into the value that can be created or the risk we got at the moment. That early work is absolutely critical. And then after that, the priorities I would say is ensuring that capability is universal, right? It's not elite. Everybody gets to exposure to the tools and the training, right? They should be role-based, should be organization-wide, or the access should be. We should see really defined standards, not just tools, because clarity builds trust, right? When you know what's going on, then confidence increases, trust increases. And then, we're designing, everything should be designed for enhancement, for augmentation of humans. It's not about replacement. And that's a really important message to communicate. This is about making people better, not making them redundant. And the organizations that get those things right, they're going to be building stronger, more inclusive teams where people are sharing their knowledge, sharing their tips, sharing their tools, and that is the future of work. Because it might feel like we're kind of all jumping off a cliff, but the truth is this is an evolution, right? This is an evolution of workplace practices. AI is only going to increase in terms of its quality, and it needs to be adopted, integrated, and championed across organizations, across the entire organization, to ensure that they're successful. And that's why the six of us got together. That's why Scail exists, because we believe that building capability in AI requires a kind of full service approach. And that's why we've built Scail as a full service growth partner for regulated SaaS businesses.
I think that's a great full circle moment, because we think about this a lot, but companies are all about their founding teams and the people that are part of the businesses. And at the end of the day, when it comes to AI and when it comes to SaaS and regulated SaaS, you're building for people. And so it's obviously really important who the people that are building for the people.
It's all about the people, Gina. It's all about the people.
It's all about the people. It always comes back to that. So I have one more question for you. We've spoken a lot about SaaS, regulated SaaS, AI, SaaS apocalypse, all of the ominous things. You've also raised the Mythos situation, and I wanted to just see, is there anything particularly interesting in the world of AI that you think we should be thinking about and talking about beyond what we've already spoken about?
Well, Mythos is a fascinating story. Basically, pretty much 30 days ago, Anthropic accidentally announced, or it was the mythos story broke because somebody had left some notes in an unpublished blog post. And mythos is this technology that has the power to find vulnerabilities in software, in finance systems. And so it's a huge deal. It's very powerful. It's been given a closed group. But like you just said about the people, that even the mythos story, if people go and research that, you can see what's happened. But it's all about humans, right? Ultimately, because humans found the human error resulted in the story being found. The vulnerabilities that mythos tracks down and helps you find are human errors in system design, and then human failures accounted for mythos getting hacked 10 days ago, or unauthorized access being granted. And the truth is, when you think about it, when you remove the tech and everything else, the truth is that human fallibility, our ability to miss stuff, just rises to the level of technology. And whatever tech comes out, we're always going to make mistakes. And so it's essential that you've got all your risk mitigation plans in place, as well as the value. But yeah, the mythos story is something that's grabbed my attention over the last 30 days. And that's just like April, right? It's SaaS apocalypse kind of all happened in February and exposed. So we had a little January off, then February went wild. There's more stuff in March, then April's exploded with mythos. Like what's coming next, Gina? I mean, you should know. You're sat on the run the editorial board at TechRound. You should have a crystal ball, I would imagine, of you should be telling us what's coming around the corner, Alastair.
Well, I think sometimes the more you know, the more concerning it is. So I guess we'll just have to see. May is coming up fairly soon, so I think we'll be hit with that in the coming days.
Yeah.
Hopefully, no more apocalyptic issues, but we'll find out soon enough.
Yes.
All right. So those are the questions that we have for you today. Thank you so much for chatting to us. Is there anything more that you'd like to leave us with in terms of Scail and what you have to offer regulated SaaS businesses?
I think maybe just, if people are interested in finding more about Scail, they can head over to our website, which is at, thank you, at scalewithay.com. You can read more about us and find out about our risk and value scorecard at scalewithay.com/scorecard, where you can get more information about that.
Awesome. Sounds good. Alastair, thank you so much for joining me today. We spoke about the AI perfect storm, the challenges facing regulated SaaS businesses, and you've told us all about Scail, how you and your team are ready to guide companies through the storm, the metaphorical storm. You've spoken to us about your AI risk and value scorecard and how companies can use the scorecard to develop their own AI roadmap. I'm very much looking forward to seeing Scail grow and develop over the coming months and years. And on behalf of TechRound, I'd like to wish you and the Scail team all the very best and on this really exciting journey.
Thank you, Gina. That means a lot. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Fabulous. And to everybody watching, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining us for our first ever TechRound Live on LinkedIn. TechRound also has some really exciting things coming up for 2026. We are wrapping up our FinTech 50 competition today. Entries close at 5 GMT. So make sure to get those entries in ASAP. You can find the entry form on the website. Coming up in May, we've got the AI 45 competition. In June, we've got the MENA 40, July, our Health Tech 44, and a whole lot more competitions, as you can see, coming up for the rest of 2026. So have a look at the website and you can find the full calendar for the year. For any inquiries about publishing with TechRound, you can also contact us. You can see my email address there. Visit the website. We love to do founder features, startup profiles, founder of the week, startup of the week. If you think that you're a good fit, let us know. If you would like to launch with TechRound, we would absolutely love to hear from you. Whether you're a startup, whether you're launching a new product, an event, anything exciting, we would love to hear all about it. Let us know. And so that's a wrap on our first ever LinkedIn Live, talking about the AI perfect storm facing regulated SaaS companies today. We spoke to Alastair Cole of Scail, and I'm Gina, editor at TechRound, bringing you the latest in tech and startup news from around the globe.
Great. Well, thanks, Gina.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alastair.
Bye.
Bye.